Hello and welcome to Inside Music, episode number 138. I'm your host, James Shotwell, and it's great to be with you again. If I sound a little funny, I have to apologize, but we're going to have to blame Father Christmas, Father Hanukkah, Father whatever you want to say. It's a seasonal sickness, and I wish I could be more specific. At the same time, I don't want to be too gross, but it's just one of those yucks, you know? One of those funks that gets into your head, in this case, a little scratch in the back of my throat. It's not a cold, it's not strep, it's just something. I don't know. It sounds like I'm speaking into the void, which is, I guess, always true when you're doing a podcast. I mean, I am alone in my apartment with my cats, Chubby Chubbs and Paws Von Trier, speaking into a microphone, hoping someone listens. But right now, I don't know. It's like I can hear myself talking, and I don't like the way it sounds. So if it sounds a little funny to you too, my apologies. But I had to be here. I had to come back because there is a conversation waiting to be heard, and it's a good one. My guest this episode is none other than Lou Miceli, the vocalist for the band Palisades, who will release their fourth studio album, Erase the Pain, through Rise Records on December 28th. That's right after Christmas, like a late gift, if you will, and it's also one of the best albums I've heard all year long. And it might just be one of the best albums of 2019. I know that's saying a lot because we have only heard, none of the albums that will be out next year, but Palisades is always a safe bet. The band mixes alternative edginess with just enough mainstream rock accessibility to be something that everyone who enjoys rock and roll can, get into. They can dig it. And the band has been getting increasingly more popular over the last few years. I think Erase the Pain will be the album that finally pushes them over the edge and into that place where even your parents know who they are, but there's still time to hop on the bandwagon. In this episode, Lou tells me about how the record came together, working with none other than Howard Benson as producer, and what the band hopes to accomplish from here. And it's kind of crazy. I interviewed Lou at the beginning of 2018 when Palisades was on tour supporting the deluxe edition of their previous self-titled release, and here we are, less than 12 months later, talking once more about a whole new set of songs. I mentioned Howard Benson a second ago, and if you're one of those people who isn't too in tune with the world of producers, let me just say this. Howard Benson is the man who gave us Three Cheers for Sweet Revenge from My Chemical Romance. Well, the band gave us that record, but Howard's the one who produced it. He's the one that made it sound like that big collection of songs that it deserved to be, and he's done it again right here with Palisades' new record, once again called Erase the Pain. Lou and I talk about how working with someone like Howard Benson can help shape a band's career, but only if you know where you want to go ahead of time. Howard's not somebody that's going to be like, let's change everything. He's going to take what you're doing and try to make it the best it can possibly be. And having heard the final product, I think that's exactly what happened. As I said, I think Palisades are destined for big things, but Lou, being the humble guy he is, doesn't really say that much himself, but he does tease what the band will be doing in 2019. So if you're already a fan, get ready to hear about that. And if you're not a fan, just know that you'll have a chance to see them in the very near future. Now, before we get any further, I need to tell you a few quick things, especially before my voice fully goes out. First and foremost, this episode of Inside Music and all episodes of Inside Music are brought to you by Holix, the music industry's leading digital promotional distribution platform. What that means is that Holix works with managers, publicists, record labels, and independent artists from all over the world to discreetly share new and pre-released music without fear of piracy. To learn how they do this and gain access to a free 30-day trial, visit Holix.com. That's HAULIX.com. You should also be following the show on Twitter. It's at Inside Music Pod or Inside Music POD, and you could be finding us on YouTube as well. Yes, every episode of Inside Music, including the one you're listening to right now, is available on YouTube. Just go there and search for Inside Music or Inside Music Podcast, and you will find 138 episodes, roughly 4 or 5 days worth of conversations for you to enjoy. Put it on at work, put it on when you're not even listening to anything, and just help us with those plays, because every bit of attention you help give the show means the bigger, better guests we can bring you in the future. Finally, one last plug. Be sure to pick up that Palisades record, once again entitled Erase the Pain, when it arrives in stores December 28th. Now, I know what you're thinking. I have a lot of plans over Christmas. The holidays are coming up. I'm going to be traveling. I don't care. If you have Spotify or you have Apple Music, they have this pre-save option where you can just go ahead and reserve a digital copy of the record so that when it comes out, you'll get a little push notification and you can dive right in. And let me tell you, you're going to want to spend time with this one because Palisades is one of those bands that puts a lot of effort into making as many layers in their music as possible, meaning you can take away a lot from every song, but also the record as a whole. It's not quite a concept album, but there is an overarching theme, and the artwork, It's really something that you need to sit down and appreciate, but you can take it and enjoy it one track at a time if need be. So find what works for you. Just make sure you check out Erase the Pain when it arrives in stores. Now, I've babbled enough, so I'm going to go ahead and play our new intro music, which is acquired from the YouTube free music library, and then we're going to get into the show. Thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful holiday. And lastly, enjoy the show.
Okay. All right, good.
I do this a lot with people on the road, so I get it, especially when you're in that specific part of America where you are right now. It's hit and miss.
It's very rough.
How's the weather treating you guys out there, though? I know that this can be a treacherous time of year. Has there been a lot of snow?
Oh yeah, there's been tons and tons of snow. Like you said, this time of year is always just very rough for touring. It's very cold, very icy, very snowy. So we just got to make sure that we're careful driving on the road. Going a little bit slower on the highways than we have to normally. But yeah, it's all right. It wouldn't be Christmas time without it.
You guys were actually just here in Michigan. That's where I am. You and I actually did an interview in February of this year when you guys were in Grand Rapids, and I didn't even know you were in Flint until the day of. And that was the day I actually reached out to do this interview, and I was like, I hope he's not like, come to Flint tonight, because it's wrong side of the state.
Oh, I know, dude. That show was actually amazing. Like that was really, really great show. We just played there before, like 2 weeks ago. Before was nothing more, and I was sold out. So Flint is a very great area for us to play. Machine Shop is an incredible venue. Everyone there treats us very well, and the fans there are amazing.
And you guys are about to do some more shows with Nothing More, right? I know you're at least coming back to Grand Rapids with them in March.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to be coming on the tour with Nothing More, Mice and Men, and Bad Flower. So it's going to be a really, really awesome tour.
How much time have you not been on the road this year? I think that might be a better question, because I feel like I started the year talking to you. I'm ending the year talking to you. When were you home this year?
I think we usually tour about 10 months out of the year, honestly. We take, and it's not like, we're home for like 2 months straight. It'll be like home for a week, gone for a month and a half, 2 months, home for a week and a half, gone for a month, home for 2 weeks, stuff like that. We've been gone pretty much between writing, recording the new album, being on tour. It's been a pretty long process. So it's actually going to be nice. We're going to have Christmas time off, and then we'll have January off. So it'll be a little bit of a good time to spend with our families and stuff. So it'll be a little bit of downtime for us.
Yeah, when did you guys actually go to the studio this year to work on the new record?
Yeah, so we were there recording in summer. Pretty much, I think we got out in July, in the beginning of June. Yeah, sorry, all the dates kind of like blur together in my head because we've been gone for so long. But yeah, we went there, I think in June. We were there for about a month, a little bit over a month. And we were with Howard Benson recording that in Calabasas in California.
There are worse places to record an album.
Yeah, I mean, that was paradise. It was such a beautiful area of California. And, being able to, be with Howard Benson and his studio is just incredible. So it was really, really great.
What made you want to work with Howard for this record?
I think we knew when we were writing it. Our manager brought up the suggestion of working with Howard Benson, and he's a legend. And you look at his repertoire of artists that he's done, and it's all been hit after hit after hit after hit. And we felt like with the direction that we were going in, he definitely would have been someone that understood exactly where we want to take Palisades for this next chapter. So we kind of started talking about it maybe a little over a year ago. Actually, maybe a year and a half ago. We actually met up with Howard while we were on tour, just kind of had a little session, just met with them, talked to them, explained to him what we wanted to do for the record. And he was all in. And, then like I said, over the summer, we recorded it. So.
Yeah, when you go to work with somebody like Howard Benson who has such a big repertoire, do you kind of have to sell yourself to him? Do you have to be like, this is who we are, this is what we want to do, and please work with us? Or is it a little bit more of just a transactional thing?
No, I think that's never really been our style. We don't want to work with anyone that we have to sell ourselves to. You know what I mean? Like, we want to work with people that want to work with us just as badly as we want to work with them. And when we sat with him, and we showed him our music, and he'd already kind of been a fan of the stuff that we were doing. So when we sat with him, it was a really, really great conversation. He kind of asked us, the one question he asked was like, do you want to write hits or do you want to write songs? And we were like, we want to write hits. He's like, all right, that's all we do here. And we're like, all right, we're in business. So it was a really cool comic collective. We understood exactly where each other were coming from. And yeah, it was an honor to work with him. It was an honor that he wanted to work with us too. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I mean, anyone that's listening to this podcast and doesn't know who he is, obviously Three Cheers for Sweet Revenge is probably the first record that comes to mind. But I always loved that POD record he did that kind of helped launch them into the stratosphere, Payable in Death.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, not even to mention My Chemical Romance, Three Cheers for Sweet Revenge. That was a personal, huge one. You know what I mean? That record like shaped my childhood.
Absolutely, and I mean, and then the list goes on from there. All American Rejects, and you kind of said a second ago that he's worked on the kind of stuff where you want to take the band, and I guess I see that in he did the Seether album, he did a Theory of a Dead Man record, 3 Days Grace, and bringing it to what we're here to talk about, the new album, it does feel like it's a clear evolution from what Palisades has done in the past, and I guess where to start with that conversation is, coming off the last record, did you kind of know? When did you figure out what the sound of this new album was going to be for you guys? Like, did you know right away this is kind of where we want to go, or did that kind of develop naturally through the songwriting?
I think, we started writing the new album almost immediately after the last one came out. I think it was January 2017. Like, that's kind of our mentality is like whenever we're done writing, we're kind of like, on to the next one because we just love writing music. That's what we, that's our career. That's what our jobs are. And the natural progression, like we knew when we did the self-titled, that this was the direction that the band was always kind of meant to be, and it was like the purest form of Palisades. So we knew that we wanted to kind of stay in that same vein, but on this one we wanted to explore a little bit more of the aggressive side of Palisades. We were experiencing a lot of emotions over the course of writing this record, and it kind of just naturally came out that way. We don't ever try to force anything. And it's funny though, the first song that we actually wrote off of the new album, even in its demo form, was actually Erase the Pain. And when we wrote that, usually when you write material, it'll change a million times, especially the first thing that you write, but that one kind of like stayed majorly the same. And that kind of like set the standard for, okay, this is the direction that we think is perfect for the new album. We want to stay in this lane of the vein that was Erase the Pain. Wow, that all rhymes in one sentence, by the way. But yeah, that when we wrote Erase the Pain, that was kind of like, all right, yeah, this feels like the right direction.
That has to be like a good feeling though. Like it kind of sounds like one of those light bulb moments in a cartoon or something where it's like, oh, this is what we're supposed to do next. Like it just kind of clicks into place.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's crazy, I mean, don't get me wrong, we had a lot of writer's block. We always do. Everybody that writes music or is any sort of art or anything like creative has a lot of writer's block. But, just to be able to at least get the pen on the paper with the starting point for what we wanted to make the new music sound like, that was a really great starting point.
So then where in the process does War come about? Is that another one of these early writing process songs, or does that happen closer to once the album's starting to come together?
So War, interesting enough, right before we left to go to the studio, we had about, 16 to 20 demos like going into the studio. And right before we left, Aaron and Matt kind of wrote this like, I think it was actually Aaron wrote this like really that riff that you hear in War, that that whole thing. We were like, this is sick, like this, but it was just a riff, and then we kind of like built it into a verse, and that was kind of it. We went to the studio, and when we were going over the songs with Howard, showing him all the different demos that we had, he like that one like was one of the ones that really, really stuck out to him, and he was like, that's a hit, definitely. He's like, let's finish that song. Like, I want you guys to finish that song. So while we were starting the recording process on the other songs, at night when we were done, we would stay up until like, I don't know, 6 in the morning every single night, just continuing to write it. And War actually was one of the last ones we actually got finished. So yeah, that was actually towards the end of the whole process.
I guess when Howard Benson says this is a hit, you should probably listen to him.
Yeah, that's the one good thing. See, the recording process with Benson was very interesting. He let us be ourselves completely. He told us when we went there, he's like, look, I'm not here to write your album. I'm not here to change who you guys are. You guys are the artists. I'm just here to guide you along the way and make good songs great and make greater songs even better. And, you know, that's what he did. So, like, when he gave the advice of, like, that song's awesome, finish writing it, we were like, okay, that's it. You know, let's just finish doing it, you know, so.
And then, with that in mind, what made Fragile Bones like song number 2 for you guys? Because you know, something about a lot of Rise artists is that they don't tend to put out a ton of material before the album drops. So if you get 2 songs, like that's kind of typically the limit. So like, what made Fragile Bones like the second slice of the record you wanted to share?
I think Fragile Bones kind of just shows a different side of the album, I want to say. A little bit more emotionally connected, a little bit more of a different vibe. And we wanted to show people like, all right, you know, there's songs on the album that are like, you know, there's War that sounds like this, but then there's also Fragile Bones that sounds like this. You know, one thing about our music, we never want to like completely just, we never want to write the same song like 10 times. You know what I mean? Like that's not our band's style, and that's never what naturally comes out. So with Fragile Bones, it was a very, you know, that chorus is so strong, and it's such a meaningful song lyrically to our band, you know, especially to me. And we thought, you know, like this song just kind of just shows that. So let's just pop that one out second.
Now, I don't know if you're going to share a third, but if you had to pick the next song people should kind of discover from the record, what would it be out of curiosity?
I mean, I think Erase the Pain, honestly. I mean, it's the title track. It's title track for a reason, you know, not only lyrically, but it's a very, very strong song. Really, really love that song a lot, and I can't wait till that comes out. We're actually 10 days away right now from it, so I'm very, very excited. And I guess a personal fan favorite of mine from the album, I really love Patient a lot. It's like one of my favorite songs of the album, and I really love Shed My Skin.
I really think this album, it's funny that you mentioned those two because I feel like the album really does close strong. I love a record with a solid back half. I mean, so many albums, you know, the side 1, track 1 is like the big starter of a conversation. But if you can have a side B that's just as strong as the opening half, I think that's a bigger accomplishment. And Ghost Onward is just like a crazy run. Like Ghost is the song I kind of find myself gravitating towards these first, you know, dozen spins or so. I don't know why. That song really stands out to me, but I think that from Ghost through the end, it is like a very strong run of material that just seems to get better and better and kind of build on itself as you head towards the end of the record.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, like, you know, a lot of times, you know, it was funny. That was kind of a conversation we had with Howard in the studio. You know, at one point, he was kind of like, you guys have a lot of hits, you know, and then we were talking about it, and he's like, when you have a record that's all singles, it doesn't necessarily feel as good because fans want something to listen to that makes it feel like it's still their band. You know what I mean? And the B-sides to the album, you know, the album songs are almost as important to the album as the singles. You know what I mean? Like you got to give something to the fans, the true fans that, you know, have been with you since the beginning, that can really just dive into, like, you know, the other songs on the album, you know. And for us, fortunately enough, we think that our B-sides have as much heart and, you know, even single worthiness as the singles. So it's kind of like a cool mix between them all.
No, that is a good point, though, because if you love a band and you see them really start to take off, and especially in a different arena, like War has been getting a lot of traction in areas where maybe Palisades hasn't taken off before, there's this thing when you're a fan where you're like, well, my favorite song on the album is going to be any song but that song because I'm a true fan and I need that song that I can call my own.
Yeah, totally. And there's something like really special about that. You know what I mean? It makes the fan feel like they're almost like a part of the band. And you know what I mean? And our fans mean everything to us. So we wanted to not only, you know, make the best single songs we possibly can to, you know, further our career, but also we're never going to forget about our fans. And honestly, it just came out naturally. Like, we didn't sit there and like go like, all right, we need a song for the fans now. It just naturally happened, and that's kind of like Palisades' mantra. Like, we don't ever like try anything like too hard. We're never trying too hard to be something that we're not. We're just us. We're just Palisades, and that's how it just plays out.
I do want to touch on the title track. We've talked about it a little bit now, but can you tell me? You mentioned the strong meaning of it, and obviously it's the title of the record. But can you, for people that are going to hear the album soon, like, what is it about that song that makes it need to be the title for you, and just the meaning of the lyrics, and maybe the artwork? Because I love the idea of the snake eating its own tail that kind of is disintegrating. Like, I think it's a cool metaphor, but for you, like lyrically, can you kind of talk about what that song covers and what it means to you guys as a band?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we were writing the song, Erase the Pain, lyrically, it's about when we were writing this whole album, we were kind of in a lot of like a depressive state about a lot of things. You know, we wanted to have that show through the music, you know, because we know that a lot of people out there feel that way in their lives daily, you know, and we wanted to let our fans know that, like, you know, we can relate, like, we're the same as you guys are, you know. And for Erase the Pain, it's about being in that lowest of low, feeling like there's no escape, like you know, the light at the end of the tunnel is so bleak that you can barely see it. And all you want to do is just get rid of this feeling of pain. And that kind of mantra continued throughout the whole album. And actually, without realizing it, the album kind of became like this concept album. You know, when we sat back and we listened to all the songs, it was like every single song in the album was about the pain that someone's going through at this time, the lowest of lows, the bad things that happen to you. And when we were talking about the album artwork for it, you know, we made like a 60-page mood board, and we finally came across a picture online of the Ouroboros, which was the snake eating itself. And when we all saw it, like, had a whole bunch of different ideas around, but when we all saw it, we were like, that's it. And the reason why we chose that image is because, you know, the Ouroboros is a symbol of infinity. And in life, you're always going to feel pain. It's going to happen to you no matter what. You're going to have your lows. You're going to have your horrible days. You're going to have those days. And that will always happen to you. But the reassurance for it is that, just like a snake, you can shed your skin and start again and erase all the pain and start anew. So if you listen to the album, you know, track by track, it goes through all the painful processes that life can bring you. But the last track on the album is called Shed My Skin, because that's the realization that we can start over again, shed our skin, and erase all of the pain. So it kind of just ties in like a circle.
I love it. I love it. And it kind of continues this fun theme that I see in your artwork where, you know, Outcast was a ton of color, a little bit dark. Mind Games, very simple, very white and black. Self-titled, back again to the dark colors. This album, we're back to the light colors. I see other themes emerging here. You guys seem to kind of reinvent the way you present yourselves.
You know, exactly. And that was actually a conscious thing too. Like, with the self-titled, it was very dark and black. You know what I mean? It was also that kind of vibe. But on this one, we wanted to show the pain represented in a different way. Like, the snake is black, right? But the background of it is white, this, you know, vibrant white background, which symbolizes the hope of being able to move on from all of this pain and struggle. So that was actually a conscious decision to have the black snake with the white background.
I mean, I'm someone that really appreciates that. And I'm sure at this point in your career, you're always looking for an opportunity to kind of add an extra layer to the whole thing. You know, there's the songs, but then there's, you know, what the song stands for, and then there's the album art, and you seem like you really enjoy finding ways to kind of add more layers to what you're doing in terms of meaning and what you can get across with a single release.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all of us, you know, we all grew up loving that kind of stuff. We're artists. We love creating, and, you know, any way that we can tell our story with, you know, more vibrancy and allow our fans to connect more with the meaning behind everything that we're going through and feel connected to our our band. That's what we want to do. And if we can give our fans a little bit more tidbits or something to hang on to, that's definitely the goal.
Well, you're about to put out album 4 in a 5-year span, almost 6 years, but 5-year span. How do you feel about the prospect of having to keep up this pace, in the foreseeable future? Like, do you feel like you're stronger than ever at this point, or is it starting to wear on you? Like, how is your mind going into getting out album 4 and then having the new run of shows and touring and all the chaos that will no doubt be 2019?
Yeah, it's great. I feel like you nailed it. I feel stronger than ever. I feel like this is the most elite version of our band that we have evolved into thus far. Even going back from our beginning stages, the best way I can compare it is like each album that we released was almost like a phase of our lives, like a phase of the life of a human, right? Like our EP was like childhood. We played it safe. We didn't really know what we were doing, just starting out, getting our feet warm, you know what I mean? Then you go to Outcast, which was like our first kind of like, all right, kind of middle school or, growing up, we kind of have an idea of what we want to do now. Then Mind Games was like our high school kind of crazy days, you know what I mean? Like we kind of just went out there and reached for something very different, rebellious, and, unique in that way. And then with the self-titled, it was kind of like our early 20s, kind of honing into like adulthood and, like things really mattered more to us and were very important that we wanted to talk about. And now with this new album, it's kind of continuing that, like, getting older and realizing, the realities of life, so.
Well, I think it's a great release. As soon as I heard it, I actually played it probably 3 times before I reached out to Amy, and I was like, I got to talk to Lou again. I know that I talked to him earlier this year, but we didn't have this to talk about, so now we have this new thing in the world. We have to get it out. But I appreciate you taking time. I'm glad that we made it happen. I'm glad you're surviving the middle of America. And I hope you
absolutely.
I think you guys only have a couple more days, and then you'll be home in time for Christmas, like you said, and you're in through January. So I hope you enjoy that time, and I will. At this rate, I'll probably talk to you in March when you guys roll through Michigan again. So until then, I hope you have a great holidays, man, and I wish you the best of luck with this album. It seems like everyone that I know that's heard it, which is all kind of writers and people in that scene, everyone seems really impressed with it so far. So I think it's going to be a good ride for you guys.
Hey, man, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate the support. I know all the guys do as well. And same to you, man. Have a great holiday, and thank you so much for the phone call.
Absolutely. Have a good show. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. See you.
Yeah. Bye.